Welcome to the Like a Doss podcast, where Ronnie Doss shares insights regarding life, leadership, and personal development. For more of our resources, visit ronniedoss.com. Now, let's join the podcast.
Today I want to talk to you about this idea that I believe is a paradigm, or what we would call a belief system, a very deep-rooted belief system that somehow tomorrow is going to provide us a treasure chest of opportunities or conveniences or a set of circumstances that today just doesn't have. Now, yes, I believe in having vision for the future, hope for the future, and all that stuff, right? But today has in it the same opportunities to dig a little deeper into your conversations, into your relationships, to look at how you talk to yourself, how you show up each day, what your routine is, what your disciplines could be. Like today offers this opportunity for you to dig in and look at yourself with more self-awareness than you've had before. I don't know if you've heard me say this, but awareness is the beginning of change. And some people are great at pointing the finger at what's wrong with everybody else, but they don't want to look at what's going on for them. And so awareness is this beginning of change. That's where you point the finger and you say what everybody else's problem is. But it's the self-awareness that's the beginning of progress. So awareness is the beginning of change, but self-awareness is the beginning of progress. And I believe that if you're listening to this, you want to make some progress. And so what's something that you could confront or look at today? One of the things that I think we always need to be confronting and addressing in our life are some of the unconscious, subconscious programs that run us in our day-to-day, that drive us to feel a certain way, to think a certain way, and ultimately behave a certain way. And then when we see ourselves behaving that way, then we say, well, this is who I am. And so that program, it manifests and it shows itself. It continues to perpetuate itself throughout our day-to-day, into our routine. We develop these patterns, and we say, well, this must be who I am. And I think the way to change that is to look at how we're behaving and really ask ourselves, like, what am I thinking and feeling on the moment to moment that really drives the behavior? Because once you see your behaviors, you have an internal critic that watches your behaviors and says, well, you did this right, you did this wrong, this must be who you are, this is what your behavior always is, this is how you're going to feel. And so that program runs you. And the next thing you know, you've got these results that are ultimately the result of this programming. And so confronting the programming is where you look a little bit deeper beyond what's on the surface. And there's a quote that used to say that the treasure that we want to find is often buried deep in the cave we're unwilling to go into. And I find that to be very true. Like a lot of times we resist the thing that we know we need to confront and that we need to take on. But it's also a quote that I've heard years ago that I think really resonates that says, if you don't confront your fears, it's like living in a jungle. When you don't confront them, you'll wind up running your whole life. And many of us are running from this thing called today. And we're trying to get to this thing tomorrow. Because I think somewhere we do think that tomorrow is going to have a set of circumstances and within it some hidden opportunities that today just doesn't have. And it's a lie. It's not true. Like whatever excuse you've made up that gives you the permission to not do what it is that you really want to do, just know that that lie, it's like a self-comforting, semi-comforting scenario that you run through your mind and you validate with this belief that you now have that you would call your story or your excuse, and it keeps you from doing the things that you want to do. And whatever that excuse is, I don't care if it's starting a book, if it's starting a new diet, setting a big goal, buying a new home, buying a new car, if it's traveling to another place, seeing somebody that you want to see, seeing some destination that you want to visit, whatever it is that you tell yourself that keeps you from going for that is this semi-comforting lie that you have created that keeps you from doing the work. And the work is when you confront yourself and go, you know what, that's just a story. And just like any story that's made up, you can rewrite the story. Like you can create a new story. And everybody in town is like, there's all these motivational people that I know are so inspiring on social media, and they've got all these great insights. They don't have a whole lot of results. Their relationships aren't great, right? Their business isn't good. It's not growing. They don't have a huge amount of impact. They don't have a whole lot of experience, but they're just talking about what people should do. But, you know, I've worked with a lot of people now. It's been a decade that I've made this thing my life. And it is the thing that fuels me. It causes me to be great at being a dad. It causes me to be great at being a husband. And I'll tell you, I'm a good dad and I'm a good husband. How do I know that? Because I ask and I'm present. I can tell. I have enough situational awareness to know if I'm not connected to my kids, if I'm not connected to my spouse. I know. And so I'm pretty good at this thing. I'm not great, still getting better. Don't get me wrong. I'm always getting better. But I've worked with enough people to see that to create change, you must confront your BS excuses. Like you have to be willing to, because if not, you dial yourself down to almost dumb, to where you're like, well, I just don't know what to do. But you do know what to do. You know how you could take this on. You know the thing that's running you if you're willing to slow down and look at it and really just be aware that the stories you've made up are probably incorrect. They're very limiting and they're keeping you from living your life all the way, right? Like you guys probably know that if you listen to the past podcast, I lost a very dear friend of mine a week ago. And it's caused me to reflect on a lot of stuff, which I know loss will do that. But it's caused me to reflect and say, Ronnie, what can you do to be better, to really live your life more, to create more memories? And some of the things that I've landed on is just being more spontaneous, willing to take some things on, being willing to dig into conversations. Like what I've found is that usually the best conversations happen after you have said, hey, how you doing? And people say, oh, I'm fine. Oh, that's good. But then you're willing to ask one more question, to take it a little deeper, to be present more, to spend a moment giving your undivided attention to the person that you are with. Like in those moments, you create, I think, a better life. And so one of the things I landed on last week is that one more dollar is not going to make me richer, but one more meaningful conversation can. But it's up to me to put myself in situations where I can have those conversations and I'm bringing something to it. And so my challenge for you today on this podcast is just stop buying your BS story about why you can't do and what you can't do. And you don't have to change your whole life in an instant, but you can start changing some things in your daily routine and start developing some new patterns for your life. And you can start to see and experience some things that you haven't experienced yet. And I believe in my heart you deserve that, but you've got to be willing to do the work. Make yourself just a little bit uncomfortable. Stop being so afraid of what life might give you. It will give you some things that suck for sure. But if you get to the end of your life and you haven't lived, that is going to suck because you were afraid. And I think you'll just wind up with a bunch of regret, wishing you had done some different things. And so this is Ronnie Doss. I appreciate you being on here. I hope you got something out of it. If you got anything out of this today, please share this. Our downloads are skyrocketing. They're going up a lot, and people are sending us messages saying thank you. So please share this, and also visit my website, it's ronniedoss.com. We got lots of video memberships, things to help you to take your life on, move your life forward. All this stuff's really easy to access from your phone. It's on these platforms, ronniedoss.com. But please at least share this, because you never know what somebody's up against, and you never know whose permission they're waiting to get. And maybe this is the permission that they needed today to take it on. And so let's do that. I'll talk to you soon.